New Antioch rises like a grim monolith amidst the endless wasteland, its foundations a fusion of desperation and defiance. Built in the aftermath of humanity's greatest sin, the catastrophic opening of the gate to hell, the city is more than a mere refuge. It is a statement of survival, a fortress of mortal will against the unrelenting infernal tides. Every stone and steel girder tells the story of its birth, forged in the crucible of war and faith. The city's architecture is a study in contrasts. Towering cathedrals loom over cramped tenements, their spires piercing the polluted skies as though reaching for salvation. These sacred monuments serve as both places of worship and rallying points, their walls inscribed with fiery sermons and depictions of the eternal struggle. Beneath them, the dwellings of the common folk sprawl in chaotic clusters, choking the narrow streets with smoke and ash. The city's very design reflects the grim realities of its existence. Every building is fortified, every alley a potential battleground. New Antioch's geography is no accident. Positioned atop a vital convergence of trenches and supply lines, it is a bulwark against the forces of hell that constantly seek to overrun it. Its walls are lined with jagged spikes, enchanted with holy wards and infernal countermeasures. The air reeks of sanctified oils and smelted iron, a constant reminder of the industrial and spiritual labour required to keep the city alive. Yet even within these defences, the spectre of destruction is never far away. But the city is not merely a machine of war, it is a living entity, pulsing with the lives of those who call it home. In its heart lies the Grand Basilica of the Eternal Flame, a beacon of faith and a symbol of humanity's refusal to bow. The Basilica's bell tolls at dawn and dusk, marking the hours of toil and prayer, uniting the disparate masses in their shared purpose. For in New Antioch, faith is not just a belief, it is the cornerstone of existence, the very reason its people endure, and endure they must. Life here is not easy. It is a battle of attrition against hunger, fear, and despair. Yet, in the shadows of this oppressive cityscape, there is a spark of hope. New Antioch is more than a fortress. It is a symbol of what humanity can achieve when pushed to the brink. It is a city built not only on ash and iron, but also on the unyielding will to survive. This is New Antioch, where every breath is a defiance of doom, and every step echoes with the resolve of those who refuse to fall. In its streets, we see the essence of humanity distilled into its rawest form, fragile yet unbreakable. In New Antioch, faith is not a quiet whisper in the soul, it is a roaring fire that consumes doubt and fuels resistance. The Church of the Eternal Flame dominates both the spiritual and social fabric of the city, its influence etched into every stone and every life. To the faithful, the church is more than a place of worship. It is the bastion of their identity, the anchor that holds them steady against the infernal tides threatening to engulf them. At the heart of the city stands the Grand Basilica of the Eternal Flame, a massive edifice that towers above all else. Its spires are adorned with banners of crimson and gold, symbols of martyrdom and divine glory, fluttering defiantly against the sulphuric winds. The eternal flame itself burns atop the basilica's central tower, an ever-present beacon visible from every corner of the city. It is said that this holy fire is sustained by the sacrifices of the faithful, a blend of consecrated oils and the blood of martyrs, making it a sacred symbol of humanity's unending defiance. Inside the basilica, the air hums with a mix of reverence and fear. Choirs chant hymns that echo off vaulted ceilings, their voices weaving tales of triumph and tragedy. The clergy, clad in robes of ash and crimson, move with solemn purpose, their every action a reminder of the weight of their duty. Among them are the hierophants, towering figures both literal and symbolic, their words shaping the hearts and minds of the populace. Each sermon delivered is both a prayer and a call to arms, instilling in the faithful the belief that they are the last line of defence in a war that will never end. But the church's influence extends far beyond its walls. Priests patrol the streets, leading public prayers and blessings for those heading to the trenches or the forges. Shrines to saints and martyrs mark every district, serving as rallying points for the devout and stark warnings to heretics. The faithful gather at these shrines daily, lighting candles and offering scraps of their meagre rations as tribute. The city's daily rhythm revolves around these acts of devotion. Work stops at the tolling of the basilica's bell, and for a brief moment, every citizen kneels in silent prayer. This rigid hierarchy of faith, however, is not without its cracks. For some, the church is a source of solace, a light in the darkness. For others, It is a chain that binds, its demands growing heavier with each passing year. Dissent festers in the shadows, whispered among the desperate and the damned who feel abandoned by the very institution they are meant to trust. The Church is not blind to these heresies. Its agents, known as the sanctifiers, root out disloyalty with a zeal as fiery as their sermons. Despite these tensions, the faithful endure. For many, belief in the eternal flame is all that stands between them and despair. It is a faith forged in fire and blood, a doctrine that promises redemption through sacrifice. In the eyes of the Church, New Antioch is not merely a city, it is humanity's altar, and every life within it is a candle burning in defiance of the abyss. In this bastion of faith, salvation is not found in peace or prosperity, but in the promise that their sacrifices will light the way for future generations. Whether this promise is true, or simply another lie told to stave off the darkness, matters little to the people of New Antioch. For as long as the flame burns, so too will their resolve. The streets of New Antioch are a labyrinth of shadows and fire, where every corner bears the weight of survival and every step echoes with the weary resolve of its citizens. From the towering spires of the Grand Basilica to the slums nestled against the city's outer walls, New Antioch breathes in soot and exhales despair. Its streets are alive, a pulsing artery of grim determination coursing through a body broken but unyielding. The city's layout is chaotic yet purposeful, designed as much for defence as for habitation. Broad avenues run like veins through the industrial districts, clogged with carts loaded with alchemical weapons and supplies destined for the trenches. These roads are watched over by the Iron Watch, the city's relentless enforcers, clad in tarnished plate and masks that glint in the dim light of perpetual smoke. Their heavy boots thud against the cobblestones, a constant reminder that order must be maintained at all costs. Beyond these avenues lie the winding alleys and crowded squares where the lifeblood of New Antioch, its people, struggle to endure. Smoke from countless forges and alchemical workshops hangs heavy in the air, mingling with the pungent scent of sanctified oils and scorched flesh. The soundscape is a cacophony of hammering iron, shouted prayers, and the occasional scream from the trenches below. Children dart through the crowds, their faces streaked with ash, scavenging scraps of food or coins while avoiding the gaze of the Iron Watch. The marketplace is the heart of this chaos, a grim spectacle of survival bartered and sold. Here, merchants hawk everything from crude weapons to charred rations, their wares often salvaged from the battlefield or crafted in the city's cursed forges. Amid the stalls, beggars clutch at passers-by with skeletal hands, pleading for alms or scraps, while street performers try to lift the spirits of the crowd with songs and tricks that only thinly veil their desperation. A fortune teller, her eyes milky with blindness, murmurs promises of salvation for those foolish or desperate enough to listen. Despite the despair that permeates the air, there is a fierce vitality to life in the streets. People gather in clusters to share whispered prayers or exchange fragments of hope. A grizzled veteran leans against a wall recounting tales of infernal horrors to a rapt audience of grim-faced listeners. A young artist etches a mural onto a crumbling facade, depicting the eternal flame burning bright against a backdrop of demons and fire. In these moments, the people of New Antioch remind themselves that they are still alive, even as the war presses ever closer. Yet danger lurks everywhere. Heretical cults whisper blasphemies in the dark, their symbols scratched into walls and doors like scars on the city's skin. The Iron Watch is ever vigilant, rooting out these threats with brutal efficiency, but for every heretic burned, another seems to rise in their place. To live in New Antioch is to walk a razor's edge between salvation and damnation, each day a struggle to avoid both the wrath of hell and the judgment of the faithful. In the end, the streets of New Antioch are more than a place. They are a crucible. They grind down the weak and temper the strong, forging the city's people into something both fragile and unbreakable. Here, survival is an art, despair a companion, and hope a fleeting ember. Yet, in the eyes of its citizens, even an ember is enough. For as long as New Antioch stands, as long as its streets pulse with the grit and determination of its people, there is still a chance that humanity might endure. In New Antioch, the forge fires never go out, their relentless glow casting long shadows over a city consumed by the demands of eternal war. The city's industrial heart beats with infernal efficiency, a grotesque symphony of hammering iron, roaring furnaces, and the anguished cries of labourers. It is here, in the sprawling manufactories and alchemical workshops, that the tools of humanity's survival and destruction are born. The industrial sector of New Antioch is a labyrinth of soot-stained factories and towering chimneys that belch acrid smoke into the already polluted skies. The air here is thick with the stench of sanctified oils, molten metal, and the pungent fumes of alchemical concoctions. Massive machines, ancient and barely understood, dominate the manufactories, their gears grinding endlessly as they churn out weapons, armour, and infernal constructs. These machines, part technological marvel, part dark sorcery, are both a boon and a curse, essential to the war effort, but prone to catastrophic failure, often at the cost of many lives. At the centre of this industrial complex are the infernal alchemists, individuals both revered and feared for their mastery of the dark arts. These alchemists walk a razor's edge between faith and heresy, their work sanctioned only by its necessity in the war against hell. They create weapons infused with divine blessings and infernal energies, each one a blasphemous paradox designed to fight fire with fire. Their laboratories are nightmarish places, filled with bubbling cauldrons, racks of cursed materials, and the twisted remains of failed experiments. The human cost of this industry is staggering. The forges and workshops are manned by a mix of conscripted labourers, indentured workers, and condemned criminals, their lives spent in backbreaking toil. Many succumb to the toxic fumes, intense heat, or the ever-present risk of accidents, their bodies unceremoniously discarded to feed the furnaces or buried in mass graves. For the living, each shift is a grueling battle against exhaustion and despair, their only solace the belief that their sacrifice serves a higher purpose. Despite the horrors of the industrial sector, it is a place of grim ingenuity. The weapons forged here are nothing short of miracles of destruction. Flamethrowers that spit consecrated fire, blades that hum with sanctified energy, and artillery shells laced with alchemical compounds designed to sear the flesh of demons. But the city's industry produces more than just weapons. Machines of war, walking constructs powered by a blend of steam, alchemy and prayer, are assembled in vast hangars, their creation a testament to humanity's refusal to bow to the infernal. The Iron Sultanate's influence looms large over this grim industry. As masters of infernal alchemy, the Sultanate provides New Antioch with the materials and knowledge needed to maintain its war effort. Yet this alliance is uneasy, for the Sultanate's methods and motives are often viewed with suspicion by the faithful. The alchemical materials provided by the Sultanate are as much a curse as they are a blessing, their corruptive influence seeping into the very fabric of the city. For the citizens of New Antioch, the industrial sector is both a lifeline and a reminder of their precarious existence. Every weapon forged, every machine built is a step closer to survival, but also a step deeper into the abyss. The industry of New Antioch is not merely a place, it is a symbol of humanity's defiance, its ingenuity, and its capacity for self-destruction. It is a relentless engine that drives the war effort forward, fueled by the blood, sweat, and souls of those who toil within its iron grasp. Here, in the heart of the city, the line between salvation and damnation blurs, and the people of New Antioch are reminded of one bitter truth. Survival has a cost, and the price is paid in iron, fire, and suffering. New Antioch stands as a bastion of mortal defiance, yet its survival is inextricably tied to a force that many within the city view with equal parts gratitude and unease, the Iron Sultanate. Far to the south, the Sultanate reigns over an empire of infernal alchemy and unyielding pragmatism, its dark brilliance shaping not only the battlefield, but the very lifeblood of New Antioch. While the faithful hold the eternal flame as their guiding light, the shadow of the Iron Sultan looms large over every aspect of the city's existence. The Sultanate's influence is felt most keenly in the city's forges and laboratories. Their alchemical innovations fuel New Antioch's war machine, providing the volatile compounds, enchanted alloys, and profane technologies required to maintain the city's defences. It is whispered that the Iron Sultan himself has forged pacts with ancient forces, neither wholly divine nor infernal, to secure the secrets of his alchemy. These materials arrive in heavily guarded caravans, their contents shielded from prying eyes, yet their corrupting presence is impossible to ignore. For many in New Antioch, the Iron Sultanate represents the ultimate compromise, a necessary alliance forged in desperation. The faithful tolerate the Sultanate's influence because they must, but they do so begrudgingly. The clergy preaches vigilance against the subtle corruption of the Sultanate's gifts, warning that reliance on such power risks damning the city in the eyes of the divine. Yet even the most devout cannot deny the brutal efficacy of the Sultanate's creations. Among these creations are the Sultanate's war constructs, towering automata of brass and blackened steel, animated by a fusion of alchemical sorcery and mechanical genius. These constructs, known as Iron Sentinels, patrol the walls of New Antioch and march alongside its soldiers into the trenches. Their presence is both reassuring and disquieting. They are unyielding protectors, but their lifeless eyes and unnatural movements serve as a stark reminder of the price of this alliance. The Sultanate's envoys, known as Iron Emissaries, move through the city with an air of aloof authority. Clad in intricate armour adorned with alchemical sigils, these emissaries oversee the delivery of supplies and negotiate the terms of the alliance with the city's leaders. Their arrival is always marked by tension. While they are ostensibly allies, their motives are inscrutable, and their presence often stirs resentment among the faithful. It is said that the Iron Emissaries report directly to the Sultan himself, their every word and action guided by his inscrutable will. Despite the unease, the Iron Sultanate has left an indelible mark on New Antioch's culture. The Sultanate's advancements in infernal alchemy have influenced not only the city's industry, but also its art and architecture. Ornate alchemical motifs now adorn the weapons and armour of the city's soldiers, and the once purely religious imagery of New Antioch's cathedrals now bears traces of the Sultanate's dark aesthetic. Even the city's language has absorbed fragments of the Sultanate's tongue, its harsh, guttural syllables creeping into the daily speech of its citizens. This uneasy coexistence raises troubling questions. Has the alliance with the Sultanate strengthened New Antioch, or has it subtly eroded its soul? The faithful see the Sultanate as a necessary evil, a tool to be used and discarded once victory is achieved. But others fear that the city has already become too dependent on the Iron Sultan's gifts, that every alchemical flame and enchanted weapon is another chain binding New Antioch to a force it cannot fully control. In the end, the shadow of the Iron Sultan is as much a part of New Antioch as the eternal flame itself. It is a constant reminder of the choices humanity must make to survive in a world consumed by war. Whether this shadow will ultimately protect the city or consume it remains an open question, one that lingers in the minds of those who fight, toil and pray within New Antioch's walls. Beneath the city of New Antioch lies a world far more desperate and chaotic than the soot-choked streets above, a sprawling network of trenches, tunnels and subterranean fortifications known simply as the Below. These underworld trenches are the city's first and final line of defence against the infernal onslaught, a labyrinth of blood-soaked mud and iron where survival is measured not in days but in moments. Here, the line between humanity and madness blurs, as those who dwell in the Below face not only the horrors of hell, but the crushing weight of isolation and despair. The trenches stretch outward from New Antioch like veins, carving through the cursed soil in jagged, chaotic lines. Some were hastily dug during moments of panic, their walls held together with salvaged scraps of wood and metal. Others are ancient, remnants of battles fought long before the city was even conceived, their origins lost to history, but their purpose unchanged. These pathways are fortified with spiked barricades, consecrated wards, and makeshift defences crafted from the remnants of countless battles. Life in the Below is a brutal, ceaseless struggle. The trenches are manned by a mix of conscripted soldiers, battle-hardened veterans, and condemned criminals seeking to earn redemption through service. Known as the Trenchborn, these individuals are as much a part of the Below as the mud and filth that define it. Their lives are governed by a grim rhythm, endless patrols, frantic repairs to collapsing walls, and desperate battles against the infernal horrors that emerge from the dark. Food is scarce, disease is rampant, and the only light comes from flickering torches and the dim glow of alchemical lanterns. The infernal forces that besiege the trenches are as varied as they are relentless. Demonic beasts stalk the shadows, their forms twisting and shifting in ways that defy comprehension. Swarms of lesser imps surge forward in waves, overwhelming defences through sheer numbers, and then there are the true terrors, greater demons whose very presence warps reality, their laughter echoing through the tunnels like a cruel mockery of hope. Each attack leaves the trenches scarred, both physically and spiritually, as the defenders struggle to hold their ground. Amid this chaos, the Trenchborn cling to fragments of humanity. Small shrines, cobbled together from salvaged relics and scraps of holy scripture, dot the trenches, offering fleeting moments of solace. Soldiers carve crude symbols into the walls, invoking the eternal flame or honouring fallen comrades. Stories are shared in hushed tones, often embellished to distract from the grim reality. In these fleeting moments, the Trenchborn remind themselves that they are still human, that the darkness has not yet claimed them entirely. Yet the below is not merely a battlefield, it is a refuge for those who have no place above. Outcasts, heretics, and deserters often flee to the trenches, carving out hidden enclaves in the deeper tunnels. These shadowy communities are ruled by desperation, their inhabitants eking out a living through scavenging, theft, or bartering forbidden knowledge. It is here that the heretical cults take root, their whispered blasphemies promising power and salvation to those willing to abandon the faith of the eternal flame. The clergy and the Iron Watch periodically descend into the below to root out these heresies, their raids swift and merciless. Yet for every cult destroyed, another rises, feeding on the despair and fear that saturate the trenches. The below is a crucible of faith and heresy, where every soul is tested and many are found wanting. For the people of New Antioch, the trenches represent both a shield and a scar. They are the city's first line of defence, the place where countless lives are sacrificed to buy a few precious moments of safety. But they are also a reminder of the price of survival. A dark underworld where hope flickers like a dying ember and humanity teeters on the edge of oblivion. The below is not a place for glory or redemption. It is a realm of mud, blood and fire, where the only victories are those that keep the city above breathing for one more day. And yet, despite its horrors, it is here that the spirit of New Antioch is forged, tested, and ultimately defined. For in the depths of the trenches, where the light of the eternal flame struggles to reach, the true meaning of defiance is found. To live in New Antioch is to live in the shadow of war, and its people know this better than most. For every weapon forged in the city's infernal forges, and every prayer whispered within its sanctified halls, there must be those who wield the tools of survival and face the horrors beyond its walls. These are the soldiers of New Antioch, the defenders of humanity, and the guardians of a city perched on the brink of annihilation. Their lives are a relentless cycle of sacrifice, training and battle, a grim reflection of the eternal war itself. The military structure of New Antioch is as layered and brutal as the city it protects. At its core is the conscription corps, made up of men and women drafted from every corner of the city. Blacksmiths, labourers, merchants and beggars alike find themselves pressed into service, their professions abandoned as they are handed weapons and thrust into the trenches. For these conscripts, training is brief and unforgiving, focused on the basics of survival in the chaotic battlefield. Many do not survive their first engagement, but those who do earn the grim honour of calling themselves soldiers of New Antioch. Above the conscription corps are the Trenchborn veterans, survivors of countless battles who have proven their worth through sheer endurance and determination. These hardened warriors are as much a part of the trenches as the mud and blood that define them. They wield weapons crafted in the forges of the city, their edges honed with alchemical precision, and carry sigils of the eternal flame etched into their armour. For the Trenchborn, survival is an art form, and their knowledge of the enemy's tactics and weaknesses is invaluable to the defence of the city. The elite of New Antioch's military are the Templar companies, holy warriors who combine martial prowess with unwavering faith. Clad in armour, blessed by the Church of the Eternal Flame, and armed with weapons infused with divine power, the Templars are the embodiment of the city's defiance. Their ranks are filled with those who have demonstrated exceptional skill and devotion, their loyalty to the Eternal Flame unquestionable. To the citizens of New Antioch, the sight of a Templar company marching through the streets is both a reassurance and a reminder of the sacrifices required to keep the city alive. At the pinnacle of the city's military hierarchy are the Iron Saints, legendary figures whose deeds are etched into the annals of New Antioch's history. These individuals are more than soldiers. They are symbols of humanity's resilience, their very presence inspiring hope in the darkest of times. Each Iron Saint bears a title granted by the Church, their weapons and armour infused with the alchemical might of the Sultanate and the blessings of the Eternal Flame. They are rarely seen, their appearances reserved for the most desperate battles, but their legends echo through the city's streets and trenches. Life as a soldier in New Antioch is a brutal existence. The days are consumed by grueling drills, endless patrols, and the constant spectre of death. Supplies are scarce, morale is tenuous, and the infernal enemy is unrelenting. Yet despite the odds, the soldiers fight on, driven by duty, faith, or simply the will to survive. Among them, camaraderie is forged in the fires of battle, a bond as strong as any steel. But the cost of this unending war is written on their faces. The soldiers of New Antioch carry the weight of the city's survival on their shoulders, their bodies scarred and their spirits worn thin. Many turn to faith, seeking solace in the sermons of the clergy or the flickering light of the eternal flame. Others succumb to despair, their minds shattered by the horrors they have witnessed. For every soldier who stands tall, there are countless others who fall, their names lost to the mud and blood of the trenches. The soldiers of New Antioch are not heroes in the traditional sense. They do not fight for glory or conquest, but for the simple, desperate hope that humanity might endure for one more day. They are the shield that protects the city and the sword that strikes back against the darkness. And though their sacrifices may go unnoticed by those who dwell in the safety of the city above, their legacy is etched into the very foundation of New Antioch, a testament to the unyielding spirit of humanity in the face of eternal war. In the unrelenting darkness of New Antioch, where faith and survival are forged in the crucible of war, hope is a rare and fragile thing. Yet, it is precisely because of its scarcity that hope holds such immense power. It is the ember that refuses to die, flickering in the hearts of the city's people even when the abyss looms all around them. While the streets and trenches are mired in blood and despair, moments of humanity shine through, offering glimpses of what the city fights to protect. These moments are not grand or heroic. They are small, fleeting acts of kindness and beauty that pierce the gloom like rays of sunlight breaking through storm clouds. In the cramped tenements of the city's lower districts, neighbours share what little they have: scraps of food, whispered prayers, and words of encouragement. Soldiers in the trenches swap stories of home, weaving tales of lost loved ones and distant dreams to stave off the cold reality of their surroundings. A child's laughter rings out as they chase a paper bird down a soot-choked alley, a sound so rare it momentarily halts the weary steps of passers-by. Art, though often crude and improvised, thrives in these stolen moments. Walls are adorned with charcoal sketches of saints and martyrs, their faces filled with a quiet dignity that inspires the faithful. Musicians cobble together instruments from salvaged materials, their melodies haunting yet beautiful, echoing through the streets like ghostly reminders of a time before the eternal war. Poets, their words etched into the sides of crumbling buildings or whispered to captive audiences in dimly lit rooms, weave narratives of defiance and perseverance, reminding the people of New Antioch that their struggle has meaning. Even the Church of the Eternal Flame, so often a stern and unyielding presence, provides moments of solace and inspiration. Priests bless the weary with words of comfort, their voices softening in contrast to the harsh sermons of the pulpit. Holy relics are paraded through the streets on rare occasions, their presence a reminder of the city's divine purpose. During festivals of remembrance, the eternal flame burns brighter than ever, its light casting the city in a warm, golden glow that for a brief time drives away the shadows. Hope also comes in the form of resilience, of a people who refuse to surrender despite the odds. Farmers coax life from the barren soil beyond the city walls, their harvests meagre but enough to sustain the hungry. Engineers and alchemists work tirelessly to improve the city's defences, their innovations born of desperation yet filled with ingenuity. Children born into this crucible of suffering grow up hardened but determined, their eyes carrying a spark of defiance that even the darkest horrors cannot extinguish. These glimpses of hope serve as a reminder of what New Antioch truly fights for. It is not simply survival, but the preservation of the human spirit. In the endless war against hell, the people of New Antioch have become more than soldiers, labourers or priests. They have become symbols of defiance. Each small act of kindness, each fleeting moment of beauty is a victory in itself, a statement that humanity will not be broken. But hope is fragile, and the people of New Antioch know this all too well. It must be guarded and nurtured, for the darkness is always waiting to snuff it out. And yet, it is this very fragility that makes hope so powerful. It is a reminder that even in the face of annihilation, humanity is capable of creating something enduring and meaningful. In the end, it is not faith alone or the strength of arms that sustains New Antioch. It is these glimpses of hope, these fleeting precious moments of humanity that give the city its purpose. For as long as hope endures, so too will New Antioch, standing defiant against the infernal tide. It is in these moments, small and unassuming, that the people of the city find the strength to carry on, to fight for another day, and to dream of a future where the eternal flame burns not just as a beacon of war, but as a symbol of peace. New Antioch is a city at war, not in theory, not in memory, but in every waking moment of its existence. Its walls, forged from iron and consecrated stone, are more than mere fortifications. They are the dividing line between humanity and annihilation. Outside those walls, the hellscape churns with ceaseless malice, a seething tide of infernal creatures and corrupted landscapes seeking to engulf all that remains of mortal defiance. The city does not merely endure under siege, it has become the siege, a relentless battleground where the defence of humanity is waged with every breath. The siege is not an event, but a state of being. Days and nights blend together in an endless rhythm of alarm bells, shouted orders, and the thunderous impact of demonic forces battering against the city's defences. The walls of New Antioch are scarred from centuries of assaults, their surfaces carved with marks of infernal claws and the jagged impressions of siege engines that defy mortal comprehension. Repairs are constant, carried out by grim-faced labourers who patch the breaches even as fresh attacks loom on the horizon. The infernal legions that assault New Antioch are as varied as they are nightmarish. Swarms of imps scramble over the battlements like a living tide, their chittering voices mocking the prayers of the defenders. Greater demons stride among them, towering monstrosities whose mere presence warps reality, their laughter carrying a cruel promise of despair. Flying fiends descend in screeching flocks, their talons tearing at the flesh of soldiers and citizens alike. These are not mere enemies. They are manifestations of hell's unyielding hatred, their assaults a physical expression of its desire to extinguish the light of humanity. Defending the city is a monumental task, one that consumes every facet of life within its walls. The Iron Watch stands vigilant atop the battlements, their armour caked in soot and blood as they fire blessed crossbows, hurl alchemical bombs, and meet the enemy in brutal melee combat. The Trenchborn veterans, seasoned warriors of the below, are often called to reinforce the walls, their knowledge of infernal tactics invaluable in the chaos of battle. The Templar companies lead the charge during counterattacks, their consecrated weapons cleaving through demonic flesh with righteous fury. Yet the battle is not confined to the walls alone. The infernal forces are cunning, probing for weaknesses in the city's defences. Tunnels are dug beneath the walls, collapsing streets and unleashing horrors into the heart of the city. Gatehouses are bombarded with unholy siege engines, their defences tested time and again. Even the sky is not safe, as demonic constructs rain fire and ruin upon the streets. Each assault is a test of endurance, ingenuity and faith, pushing the defenders to their limits and beyond. The clergy of the Eternal Flame play a vital role in the siege, their prayers and rituals bolstering the city's defences. Priests walk the battlements, their voices raised in defiance as they call down blessings upon the soldiers. Holy wards are etched into the walls and weapons, their light flaring with divine power as they repel infernal energies. The Eternal Flame itself burns brighter during each assault, its light a beacon of hope for the defenders and a searing rebuke to the enemy. But the siege takes its toll. The streets are filled with the wounded and the dying, their cries echoing through the city like a mournful hymn. Supplies are stretched thin, and every victory feels hollow as the defenders bury their fallen and prepare for the next attack. The constant pressure frays nerves and tests loyalties, with whispers of despair and heresy spreading like a contagion. The people of New Antioch live each day knowing that the next assault could be their last, and yet despite the overwhelming odds, the city stands. It has weathered centuries of assaults, its walls holding firm against the tide of darkness. The siege has forged New Antioch into a symbol of defiance, its people united by the shared burden of survival. For every life lost, for every stone shattered, the city endures, a flickering ember in a world consumed by fire. The eternal siege is not merely a battle, it is the crucible in which New Antioch's spirit is tested and renewed. It is a reminder that the city's strength lies not only in its walls and weapons, but in the unyielding resolve of its people. As long as the eternal flame burns, as long as a single defender draws breath, New Antioch will stand. It is not victory that drives them, for they know the war can never truly be won. It is defiance, the simple yet profound act of refusing to fall that keeps the city alive. New Antioch is a city of defiance and faith, its people bound together by the harsh realities of an unending war. Yet, beneath its unyielding surface lies an undercurrent of uncertainty, a series of whispers that hint at truths far more profound and unsettling than even the horrors of the infernal siege. These whispers, shared in shadowed corners and forgotten passages, speak of what lies beyond the city's walls and trenches, beyond the unending tides of hell. They speak of origins, betrayals, and the possibility that even the eternal flame may not be what it seems. The first and most enduring mystery of New Antioch is its founding. The city's origins are shrouded in the chaos that followed the opening of the gate to hell, its builders known only through fragmented records and half-remembered tales. Some claim the city was raised by the first faithful, guided by divine visions, to create a stronghold against the infernal onslaught. Others whisper that its foundations predate the war, that New Antioch was not built to protect humanity, but to contain something far older and more dangerous than even hell itself. In the deep tunnels beneath the trenches, fragments of an ancient language have been found carved into the walls, their meaning indecipherable yet hauntingly familiar. These runes, older than any known scripture of the faithful, are said to pulse faintly with a light knot of this world. Some believe they are warnings, left by those who knew the true nature of the war humanity now fights. Others fear they are not warnings at all but invocations, their purpose long forgotten but still potent. The eternal flame itself is not immune to speculation. While the faithful see it as a divine gift, a symbol of humanity's resilience, others question its true nature. Legends abound that the flame was not lit by human hands, but was instead a remnant of the infernal fire that first poured through the gate. If this is true, then the flame may be as much a product of hell as a weapon against it, its power fueled by the very forces it seeks to repel. Such ideas are heresy of the highest order, yet the whispers persist, carried by those who have stared too long into its flickering light and seen shapes that should not be there. Beyond the city's walls, the whispers grow louder. Scouts and explorers speak of regions where the infernal corruption seems to falter, where the land bears scars of a different, forgotten conflict. In these places, strange ruins rise from the ashen ground, their architecture alien and unsettling. Some describe finding remnants of machines far beyond the capabilities of even the Iron Sultanate, their purpose unknowable but their danger apparent. Others claim to have encountered beings neither human nor demon, their forms cloaked in shadow and their intentions impossible to discern. These whispers raise troubling questions. If hell is not the only force at play in this eternal war, what else waits beyond the city's fragile borders? Are the faithful truly fighting for salvation, or are they pawns in a conflict far greater than they can comprehend? The clergy dismiss such questions as dangerous distractions, urging the people to place their trust in the eternal flame and their faith in the righteousness of their cause. Yet for those who dwell in the trenches, for those who stare into the abyss day after day, these questions linger, gnawing at the edges of their minds. The Iron Sultanate, too, seems to know more than it reveals. Its alchemists whisper of ancient knowledge unearthed in forbidden places, knowledge that has allowed them to create their infernal constructs and weapons. The Sultan's emissaries speak in cryptic terms, hinting at a grand design that transcends the war between heaven and hell. Whether this design is one of salvation or domination remains unknown, and the Sultanate guards its secrets with an iron grip. For the people of New Antioch, these whispers are both a curse and a source of grim fascination. They are a reminder that the city's struggles, as vast and all-consuming as they seem, may be but a small piece of a much larger puzzle. They are also a warning that even the most steadfast faith and the most unyielding defences may not be enough to shield humanity from the truths that lie beyond. In the end, the whispers of the beyond are a reflection of New Antioch itself, a place of contradictions where faith and fear walk hand in hand. They remind the city's people that their defiance is not only against the infernal forces at their gates, but also against the unknown forces that may yet shape their fate. And so the people of New Antioch continue to fight, their eyes fixed on the horizon, their hearts filled with equal parts hope and dread for what might come next. For in a world where even the eternal flame may hide secrets, the greatest threat to humanity may not be the darkness they see, but the truths they dare not face.